The first time I saw that scar on my meadow, it wasn't just dirt, it was betrayal, carved right across the land I called mine for 15 years. Orange flags stabbed the earth in a crooked line, waving like a warning from hell, and right behind them, a fresh trench, raw and muddy, with thick metal pipes coiled through like something alive and unwelcome. If you've never felt your stomach drop, just from looking out your own kitchen window, trust me, it's a special kind of rage, especially when you know nobody asked you, nobody warned you, and those improvements weren't meant for your benefit at all. See, this patch of land was never just real estate. It was the proof I'd built something out of nothing, sweat and sacrifice hammered into every fence post. And now, some clowns from the HOA thought they could sneak in at midnight, carve a trench, stick their name on it, and act like my liberty was just another box to tick. I picked up the phone, still shaking, and called the HOA board. The president, Cassandra Pike, answered in that syrupy voice of hers, all community safety and caring for everyone. Sure, when did community mean trespassing in the dead of night with forged signatures and roaring diesel engines? That was the moment I knew. If they wanted a fight, they'd just found one. That morning, the world was supposed to be normal, cool air, a hint of dew, coffee in the kitchen. But out on my porch, it hit me again, a jagged line of flags slicing across my field, turning my quiet sanctuary into a construction zone. And not just any construction, a fat yellow gas line laid deep, machinery left like sleeping monsters, tires gouging my earth. The worst part? A sign hammered right in the middle, Community Safety Initiative, Authorize. D by Redwood Hills HOA. At the bottom, my stomach clenched. They didn't have jurisdiction here. I checked a dozen times before buying. But there it was, bold as brass. I called again, no more Mr. Nice guy? This is Jackson Cole. There's unauthorized work on my property. Who approved this? The receptionist barely cared, said it was part of the modernization initiative. When I pressed, she claimed they had my signature on file. My signature, right. If you have an issue, she chirped, talk to Cassandra Pike. Then the line went dead. So, I drove straight to their office, some sad gray building wedged between a nail salon and a dry cleaner, reeking of stale coffee and smugness. Cassandra greeted me, all fake smiles and perfect nails, asking how she could help. I didn't bother with pleasantries, just asked why there was a gas line across my land, why my name was on any paperwork. For the good of everyone, she said, records say you're part of the HOA. Now, she even flashed a copy of my signature. Sloppy, fake, but enough to convince the lazy or the complicit. If it's a forgery, take me to court, she purred. But the project goes on. I told her she'd see the sheriff next. Her smile didn't waver, but the warning in her voice did. Be careful, Mr. Cole. Meddling with the community comes with consequences. Let me tell you, when someone in power starts giving you friendly warnings, it's because they know you've got them cornered, and it terrifies them. Back home, the anger just simmered. I walked out at twilight, back to that raw wound in my field, and found something strange, an envelope tucked under a flag, half buried. Inside was the supposed authorization letter, my name, badly forged, as if anyone who actually knew me would ever fall for it. I laid it out beside my real deed, took pictures. That night, sleep didn't come easy, the moonlight catching on that trench, reminding me what was at stake. It wasn't about safety, it was about control, and they'd picked the wrong guy to rob. I called my lawyer, Marion Torres, who's sharp as a tack and twice as stubborn. That's forgery and trespass. She said, document everything. Don't face them alone. So I did. By noon, I had photos of every flag, every gouge, each insult to my land, filed and ready for battle. At the county records office, things only got worse. The clerk said my land had been annexed into the HOA 2 years ago. He showed me the file, my signature, notarized by Brenda Holcomb. Except it wasn't my handwriting. The clerk just nodded. You're not the first to complain, but you are the first with proof. That was all I needed. When I got home, there was an excavator at my gate, bucket hovering over my chain. Lock, quiet but menacing. I called Marion again. They're trying to scare you, she said, almost gleeful. Good. Cease and desist goes out today. Tomorrow, we file for an injunction. That night, I strung tin can alarms around the fence. If they were coming, I'd hear them. At midnight, I saw a black SUV crawling my fence line, headlights off, stopping by the digger, then driving off into the dark. Intimidation? Maybe. But I refused to blink. Dawn brought open hostility. 3 trucks, hard hats, engines revving at my gate. Take down this gate, or we'll call law enforcement. One of them barked. I hit record and told them they were trespassing, that their paperwork was forged. They didn't flinch. One spat at my feet and promised they'd be back. Good. Every move they made was more evidence for Marion. That night, sitting in my shop, staring at that open wound of a trench, it hit me. This wasn't a gas line. It was war. And these folks had no idea who they'd just tangled with. Sleep was restless, but dawn broke with new determination. I went back to the trench, camera in hand, and started poking around. That's when I found something that didn't belong. A sealed access panel, tamper-proof screws. I pried it open. Inside, wires, circuits, and a module stamped Meridian Grid Control. Not a utility company. These guys build data hubs, not pipelines. This wasn't about gas. It was about surveillance. My land was just their corridor. Photos taken, I sent everything to Marion. Her reply was immediate. That module changes everything. Subpoenas are going out. The fight had just gone federal. Then I brought in Leah Morris, a journalist known for making crooks sweat. She showed up that same afternoon. Together we walked the trench, pieced through the forgeries, and she said, "This isn't an HOA issue. This is organized land theft." By sunrise, she had the payments traced, shell accounts, $1 for every fake signature. When the handwriting experts confirmed the forgeries, it all clicked. And then, twist, Leah found the smoking gun. Meridian's manager had scribbled a note. Use HOA jurisdiction to formalize corridors. Residents will believe it's for safety. That's when I realized they were never protecting anyone. They were stealing land, hiding behind the HOA, counting on folks to be too tired or too scared to fight back. But not this time. Panic spread inside the HOA. Personal emails leaked. Guilt bubbled to the surface. Leah's article went public. Page 1. Signatures forged, pipelines exposed. Meridian tied to the whole mess. The town erupted. Strangers showed up at my gate, some angry, some grateful, but everyone awake. But exposing the truth is a double-edged sword because it draws fire. That night, a letter came. Withdraw your claims or you'll regret it. I handed it to Marion. More evidence, she said with a smirk. Suddenly, neighbors were sharing their own horror stories. Fake fines, bogus sales, threats. We signed affidavits. We weren't alone anymore. The judge issued an injunction. Everything stopped. But, of course, power never quits. 2 nights later, floodlights lit up. My field, trucks rolling in, workers everywhere. I stormed out, camera rolling, yelling that they were defying a court order. And then I saw her, Cassandra, cool as ice. The project goes on. The community needs it. But this time, I had her on tape, admitting, dodging, finally cracking as I listed off every piece of proof. Her mask slipped for the first time. Court came fast. Marion unleashed hell. Photos, signatures, bank transfers, the whole ugly web. The judge leaned in, cold and clear. All construction is suspended. Any violation will result in prosecution. Boom. Outside, unmarked trucks cruised by, silent and threatening. But I'd learned, intimidation goes both ways. At the next hearing, the courthouse was packed. Did they forge your signature? A reporter shouted. I answered loud. Yes, and this isn't just my fight. It's for every homeowner bullied into silence. Marion called Brenda, the notary. Did you see Mr. Cole's sign? Brenda froze. No, gasps all around. Then the money trail, Meridian paying the HOA under the table. The judge's gavel slammed. This court will not tolerate fraud. A full criminal probe opened. Outside, Leah whispered, "They'll be back." And sure enough, Meridian tried to dig in, but Cassandra resigned, flipping and testifying against them. Their empire crumbled. Neighbors brought coffee and stories. The fear that had kept us quiet turned into something else. Unity, hope, even a little bit of pride. One night, a friend said, "You didn't just defend your land, Jackson. You gave us our voice back." And as the HOA collapsed, indictments flying, Meridian's name poisoned, I stood on my porch and watched the sun set over my land, finally mine again. You know, they tried to bury me, but they forgot. I don't scare easy, and this fight was never just about land. It's about standing your ground when power tries to shut you up. And for everyone listening, don't stay silent. Speak up. Fight back, because once you lose your voice, you've already lost everything. If you've ever tangled with corruption, bullies, or HOA dictators, let's hear it. Drop a comment, share your story. Because the next headline could be yours.